Hi guys. Hello. Hi Rue, good to see you. So today is a very unusual live. Hi Lauren. It's a very unusual news live. Hi Joe. Hi Natlin. Hi Joe. Was it you who messaged me on PayPal? Hi Praxis. So as I was saying, today is an incredibly different news live. The reason why I called it a news special, hi Kevin and hi Ryan, is because they're two very different topics that I want to discuss today. One is, it's a very strange, hi Kareen, it's a very strange, it's honestly a very strange compilation of news because on the one hand, there are two allied countries that have a very close relationship right now, Ukraine and the UK. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Solomon. And in Ukraine, today is one of the best days since February 24th. We are celebrating one of the most massive counteroffensives, quite literally known in modern history, that is going so successful that no one expected it to be going this successful. In the meanwhile, the UK is mourning the passing of the longest reigning monarch in the UK history. So this is a very, very, very kind of strange duo of two very different moods to report on around the world today, right? Now, I do want to pay tribute to Queen Elizabeth as the longest reigning monarch in the UK's history, right? I do want to pay tribute to her, and I want to pay tribute to the English people who are upset by her passing. But I also want to be sensitive with it because while there are a lot of people that are mourning her death, there are also a lot of people who are not fond of the monarchy. And at the end of the day, monarchies are never necessarily a great thing because there will be bound to be places under the reign of those monarchies that don't want to be there. Read Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. Yeah, TikTok is having issues probably because a lot of people are live streaming because, well, the passing of Queen Elizabeth is a huge event. Also, I do want to say that the Queen is succeeded, hi Tammy, by her son, King Charles. And that is something that does not sit well with a lot of people, as former Prince of Wales is not very popular among people for a variety of reasons. And oh my gosh, Camilla is incredibly unpopular as King consort, and a lot of people are really, really not happy about it. There were quite a few jokes about the fact that she held on to life so long just to not see him become king. And it's understandable. Charles is not a likable figure. There are very few supporters of him within the realm of the UK. There is now, not only is the passing of Queen Elizabeth a big event, a big and tragic event for many, right? But also Scotland, for instance, I think that, well, a lot of people think, not just me, that this is the last drop. This is the last drop for Scotland, because Scotland only stayed within the monarchy because they were promised a whole lot. Then Brexit happened and they did not want to leave Europe. And because the generations in Scotland loved the Queen, were very fond of her. But now the Queen no more, and so it's kind of like their last tie to the UK that they respected, sort of. It was the Queen, and the Queen has sadly passed away today. Now, hi Crazy Cat, hi Scooter, hi Witch Bitch. Now, you know, the monarchies the monarchies the monarchy's history within the UK is very vast and broad, and it has its ups and downs. But one of the things that, not one of the things, but probably the only people who had continuously brought popularity for the monarchy back was Queen Elizabeth. If you don't know this, the monarchy is becoming less and less and less popular within the UK, right? And the Queen has kind of kept it alive because, long live the Queen. The UK loved their Queen. You're going to be surprised at how culturally up to date Charles is. He works in climate change. I mean, yeah, that's quite amazing of him, but that doesn't negate the fact that, he's not necessarily super popular. And also, here's the thing, there is a difference between what people in the UK might think of Charles, right? What people in England might think of Charles. And there is a large difference between what people in Scotland, Wales, and Ireland think of Charles. Hi Gap and Heroim Slava Grumpy. Like, no matter how surprised someone might be with how up to date Charles is, it's going to be really hard to bring his reputation up to date, no matter how up to date he might be, because his reputation precedes him. And there are a lot of problematic things that happened with him, like when him and Camilla were laughing at the Inuit traditional singing. And I think it's also another thing is that he might be gaining popularity within the modern generations in England, but is he gaining popularity within the modern generations in Scotland and Wales? Because not everybody is as happy to be within the monarchy. And I think that the death of Queen Elizabeth is not only a tragic event, because self-explanatory, right? But also because it's going to bring a lot of change to the UK. And it's an end of an era. It's an end of the post-war era. It's an end of the beacon of the post-war era. It's thank you, Device Maxim. Thank you. Hi, Annette. It's a big deal, and I think it's a big deal not only because of the quite obvious reasons, but I think also because of what it symbolized and what's kind of what it was ingrained as in people's minds. William and Kate are more popular than Charles and Camilla. Well, yeah, William and Kate are much more likable, right? There is a lot of stuff there is a lot of stuff. I'm sorry, it's just like, I've been following the monarchy for a while because I'm very interested in history, right? And the monarchy, no matter what I think of it, is a very interesting subject. It's incredibly interesting. It's incredibly interesting to see how Queen Elizabeth kept it alive and well, right? It's incredibly interesting to see how Дуже вам дякую. Хорошого вечора. It's incredibly interesting to see kind of how she's influenced the course of the monarchy itself. And so, thank you, Netlin. And so, with that said, I think there is going to be a lot of change, and I think there is going to be a lot of different. Скорее большую сложность. Просто есть королевская семья, чисто такого, которая по сути в политику не лезет. Yes, sorry. There was a really big piece of writing on Twitch that I had to read because I get distracted easily about the monarchy. But yes, yeah, she was the longest sitting monarch by far the longest sitting monarch, and she was incredibly impressive in that regard. She was incredibly impressive in the regard of how she had gained back the monarchy's popularity in times in which the monarchy was seemingly about to disperse, right? So that's something that I want to talk about after the news of Ukraine. And also, yes, as Kat is saying, the new prime minister and the new king in 1 week is a lot for one country. And also, again, as far as I know, what I've said before is that a lot of people really don't like Charles. And even if people in the UK are gaining more respect for him, the thing is, worldwide, Charles's reputation is forever stained. No, you didn't miss the news, punk, because again, and we're gonna come back to Princess Diana, and I know that happened a very long time, but that stained his reputation quite a bit. And the fact that he ended up marrying Camilla, a lot of people don't like Camilla. A lot of people don't find her likable. And here is the thing: as much as I would want to say that most people base their opinion based on what the person actually does, most people base their opinion on how the press portrays them. Re Meghan, re Kate, re absolutely every single one of the royal family. So, so basically, unfortunately, no matter how many times somebody is going to say, well, you will be surprised what Charles does. Well, you will be surprised by what he has been doing and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of very surprising things about him. But the reality of the matter is that he has a certain reputation. It is not going to be easy to fix, because the public opinion is very often shaped by how the media portrays people, which is an unfortunate truth. And so it's going to be a very interesting time frame, because even if he's well liked among colleagues, and he's well liked among the government, and he's well liked among people who follow politics closely, he's not very well liked in general, right? And that's going to be hard to battle. Yeah, the British media is incredibly harsh, and it's going to be hard to battle. And I think that he's not going to get an easy pass from the media. He's not going to get an easy pass from people. He's not going to get an easy pass in general, because again, there is already reputation that basically enters the door does. So we'll see how that will progress. how that will progress. And I'm not saying this, to criticize anybody. I'm not saying this to criticize, to kind of like, tell the people from the UK that that like, oh my gosh, no, this is bad. Like, obviously this is your royal family and this is your opinion on them, and that's what matters, right? And if you're satisfied with Charles being king, then you're satisfied with Charles being king. I'm just saying that in the international arena, it's going to be a very interesting change with UK, and I don't mean England. It's also going to be a very interesting change, because unlike some people who are talking about him in a light here, there are a lot of people around the world that absolutely despise him. And whether these reasons are justified or not justified is not for me to judge, right? Like, I have my own opinion on him. And I think that he is a little boneless, and I think that he is a little spineless. And I am going to come back to Diana with this, but I am going to come back to this in a different angle. Thank you, Amanda, from a different angle. I am not necessarily even saying he did Diana wrong or something like that in terms of like loving Camilla. You can choose who you love, right? Who would choose Camilla over Diana? Well, he would, because, this is the woman that he was originally in love with, and there is a whole royal progression of why he couldn't marry her, right? But he married Diana when she was an 18-year-old, when she was a teenager. And she was in love with him, and he was not in love with her. And he was a 30-something-year-old man who fully understood that this is a fragile teenager, an impressionable teenager. And he should have found someone to get married to who was older, who realized that this was a royal marriage based on duty, not a marriage based on love. And Diana did not have that understanding. And he had the understanding that she does not have that understanding. And I understand that he needed to do right by his family, that he needed to do right by his people, by the monarchy. He had to find a suitable queen. Camilla was not a suitable queen. But at the same time, like, this is not right. Like, I understand as well that the reason why he couldn't be with Camilla in the first place was because of the royal family's like arbitrary rules that are, that are not right, and they're outdated and all of this stuff. But at the same time, like, okay, well then you think about what you want. You want to be with the love of your life, then you abdicate the throne, right? If there are all these rules and regulations, and those are the rules and regulations for the crown prince, then you suck them up and you do what's needed out of you. And you go and you marry Diana then, and then you stay with Diana. And you stay with Diana and you do right by her. And you stay married to her, and you do your duty, because you at that point got to choose between your duty and between what your heart wants, right? And that's just an unfortunate reality of being the crown prince. And he's not the first who had to choose between these things, and he's not going to be the last. I'm pretty sure. And that's just what life unfortunately is. And I think that Grumpy here is saying, well, Diana did write a letter to her bodyguard's wife threatening to unalive her, just saying. And I understand that, yes, but also, again, she was a teenager who was bulimic, who was having mental health issues, whose mental health issues weren't addressed, who were also scorned publicly. The media was like really harsh on her. Listen, I'm not like a Princess Diana diehard, but from like a perspective of somebody who knows psychology, that royal family quite literally drove that girl to the edge and then did not give her any support. So many different factors, right? And here's the thing, like, yes, you don't get the choice, because in the monarchy there is a line of succession, but you do get the choice to abdicate, right? So at that point, if you chose, because here is the thing, he wanted his cake and he wanted to eat it too. He had the ego, he has the ego where he wants to be king, but he also wants to do what he wants to do, right? And that's not a good trait for a king. That's not a good trait for somebody who is at the throne, right? Those are usually the people who end up being dictators. Those are usually the people who end up putting themselves first, right? Because at the end of the day, you дуже дякую. At the end of the day, if you need to choose. If you want to be king, then you do the things that are required of you, whether you like them or you don't like them. And I'm not saying they're right. I'm not supporting the way that the monarchy kind of defines what you should or should not do, but that is the thing. He knew he wasn't able to change it. He knew it wasn't going to happen. He didn't have the backbone to stand up to his mother or change it. So he just either had to do what he had to do or abdicate and be with his love, right? But at the end of the day, he ruined the life of a teenager who could have had a beautiful life and who could have done a lot of good and who could have like maybe developed these mental health problems, but they could have been addressed. And she would not have been put so deep into her further into her depression by the institution. And I think there is just so much going on within the royal family that's absolutely not okay. But speaking of Charles, it's point blank, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Your ego stands in the way of your accomplishments. Your ego wanted to be king, but also wanted to be with Camilla. So you decided both, but in reality, you had to choose between one or the other. Clearly, he couldn't stand the fact that Diana was in the spotlight. Clearly, he was undermining her and stuff like that. And those are not, like, objectively, those are not the traits that you would want to see in your king. Those are not the traits that you would want to see in any king. So for me, it's not really like the Charles against Diana thing, whose popularity was more and who I like more. To be frank, I don't really like most members of the royal family. I really don't like that they get away with stuff like Prince Andrew, who was so closely connected to so much wild stuff, somehow just got away scot-free. Obviously, that's because the royal family has connections, right? So, there is very little that I can say. Hi, Nanny Ria. Hi, Walter. There is very little that I can say in respect to him, and that has nothing to do with like the usual, like, oh my gosh, Diana. Oh my gosh, I love Diana, and that's why Prince Charles is bad. Like, no, it's not that I love Diana, that Prince Charles is not a suitable king. It's that I'm looking at it from a perspective of someone who is, like kind of level-headed, looking at the decisions that he has done, the decisions that he has made, and I can't respect a man who has so much ego. That's just what it is. I think his ego will stand in the way of him. Also, someone on Twitch is asking, so do you think royalty should be abolished in the UK? I'm not a citizen of the UK, and I don't have an opinion on it because I think that it's up to the UK people whether they want to keep the monarchy or whether they don't want to keep the monarchy. And I think that it's up to like Canadians, and it's up to all of the colonies, right? Basically, pretty much it's up to all of the colonies, because like at some point a lot of territories became under British rule because of colonizing, right? So I think that that's all up to the people who live within the realm of the royal family. I'd rather say that way. and I will support whatever it is that they want. So yeah, the Commonwealth, obviously, but I like the, I know the name Commonwealth, but I'm purposely avoiding it because I don't think it's Commonwealth. I think the term is a little wrong. I think that there are some countries that are benefiting from it much more than other countries are. Um, but so my opinion on it essentially doesn't matter unless someone is just interested in hearing it. But yes, sure, it's up to them, but it's also up to us to build an opinion about this matter, I think. Well, no, I don't think it's up to us to build, who is us, an opinion on this matter. That's like kind of the thing where like I prefer to listen to the people who are under the realm of the monarchy, and I prefer to support what they want and what they need. Thank you, Nanny Ria, because it's not really up to me or up to us if it's not our monarchy and not our government and not our country and not something that affects our day to day. I don't think that it's our prerogative to sort of form an opinion on it, um, and to sort of and to drive anybody to think something about their monarchy or drive their opinion. I would say that that's a very damaging statement, and that's something Russia does. And I think that on the other hand, we should be listening. Um, we should be listening to what the people in the realm of the monarchy want. Hi, Graham. Good to see you. So very sorry for the death of Queen Elizabeth. We were just having a very long conversation about this. But yeah, so in my opinion, I think that we, as in the people of not Commonwealth, in fact, should form our opinion based on what the people within Commonwealth want, not try to dictate their opinion. Yeah, I understand. I mean, like, I have an opinion, right? Here is the thing, like, I don't think it's kind of like, here is the thing. If someone asked an American or a Brit or a French person, do you think Zelensky should be president of Ukraine? I would say that they quite literally have zero prerogative to answer that question, because it's not up to them. It's not up to them to like give an opinion on whether they, people unaffected by Zelensky and people who have nothing to do with Ukraine and nothing to do with what's happening within Ukraine, they shouldn't really be answering that question. It doesn't matter what they think. It's not their prerogative. It's out of their ballpark. It really, like, really not your freaking thing to answer. So for me, it's the same with abolishing monarchy in the UK or in the Commonwealth, It's not mine. It's out of my ballpark. I shouldn't be answering that, at least publicly. It's not up to me, and it's not my, I really have no prerogative to do so. And if someone were to do that about, like, answering the question about Zelensky, who was not Ukrainian, and be like, who the do you think you are? So same here, if I were to publicly go and say my opinion on whether the monarchy should be abolished or whether the monarchy should not be abolished, it's like, who the do I think I am, It's my monarchy. So, Ukrainian news. Oh, awesome. Hi, Mariana. Привет. So yeah, so I just think that it's not, it's none of my business. Where like I can have an opinion and I can keep it to myself, but I won't dare to have an opinion and tell it to other people on something that I shouldn't, not that I shouldn't like express an opinion on, but something that's just out of my ballpark and out of my prerogative. Yeah, we have no say in the matter. Exactly. It's not fair. It's not fair for me to contemplate on whether the monarchy should exist or monarchy shouldn't exist when it's not my monarchy and not my country, right? And at the end of the day, it's what the people under that rule want. Profile due to today's events. Yeah, I understand. Today is a very dark day in the UK. Glory to the heroes. Yeah, I understand that, Nicole, but I choose not to. I choose not to do. I choose not to do. How am Slava? So Nicole on YouTube says you can speak your voice and you can have your opinion in public or in private, but at the you're not from there, so that is only your opinion. I fully understand that, but again, I don't feel like, I think that it's disrespectful of me to give my opinion on something that doesn't concern me. I don't mean doesn't concern me as in I don't care, but doesn't concern me as in like whether it exists or whether it doesn't exist. The outcome doesn't influence me and my life directly, right? And it's just not right. Like, I really don't like when people contemplate, especially publicly, on politics of other places where it absolutely, isn't my prerogative. Like when people kind of like give their unsolicited thoughts on like Zelensky or on what he's done to Ukraine or on what he's doing to Ukraine, having absolutely no experience of living in Ukraine or understanding what Zelensky is for us, or really having no like right to say anything because it doesn't concern you. I would be publicly speaking on monarchy if I had a UK passport. I don't have a UK passport. Therefore, or a Canadian passport, or a passport of any other Commonwealth country. But I don't. And so that's not something that I should be speaking on, Yeah. So I think out of respect to the people in the Commonwealth countries, I can talk about how I feel about Queen Elizabeth's passing, whether I like King Charles or whatever as like a foreigner or something like that. But whether they should have a monarchy or not, that's not my prerogative. It's not about me. Yeah. Yeah, no, Grumpy. I mean, you have all the rights to talk about the monarchy because you are affected by it. You are Canadian. You're also Irish, so you have more than one right to speak on the matter. In the UK for almost 15 years now. I'm not British, but UK is my home. Yeah. No, I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, you guys, if you live in the UK, it's like all I'm trying to say is that I want to be respectful and I don't want to like put my 2 cents somewhere where they don't belong. As in like it's not. I understand that people love hearing thoughts on the monarchy from like everyone who's willing to share them, but the thing is I'm not willing to share them out of respect, because no matter what my thoughts are, and that doesn't mean that my thoughts are negative or positive, it's just that it's not my place at all. And as much as like, I really don't like hypocrisy, and so I feel like we as Ukrainians ask foreigners a lot, but out of our politics, because no one understands, because a lot of people don't understand anything about our politics yet, have such loud opinions, you know? Okay, here's the thing. Dumb reactions to Zelensky are similar to your shallow opinion of King Charles or Prince Charles. But here is the thing. I am not saying, well, first of all, my opinion of King Charles is based on the fact that I have done years and years and years of research. On the matter, because I have studied the royal family profusely and profoundly. I did not find out about it 6 months ago. I found out about it when I was 7 years old, to be fair. I'm not saying that that is the opinion that should exist, nor am I saying that it's an opinion that's right. I said that I quite literally don't like the man because from a perspective of how he has acted, how he has behaved, and the things he has done, like, you know, going to Wales and doing all that speech about how he's going to be the different Prince of Wales, how he understands Wales, and then literally not following up on it ever again and never really doing anything for Wales ever again is one of the contributing factors. Now, what I did say is that although he might be gaining popularity in England, he might be gaining popularity in his government, I said that it's going to be, unfortunately, very hard to fix his reputation because it precedes him. And a lot of people in the world really don't like him. Whether you like it or not, that's a fact. And that's not my shallow opinion of Prince Charles. It's the opinion of most of the world, is that he's very, 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 very not liked. And whether you are happy with it or not, whether you are a fan of King Charles or not, he's not liked around the world, and that's just a fact. And I brought a fact to you. I didn't say it was justified. I didn't say it was not justified. I just brought a fact. 1 and 2, I do have an opinion on King Charles, and I could share it vastly, and I could quite probably, I could do it. I'm not doing it specifically because, again, you know, not my place really. I just said that I personally don't like him as a person, looking at the fact that he has too much ego. Now, that's it. That's about it. But the point is, it doesn't really matter whether I like King Charles. It doesn't really matter whether anybody in the US likes King Charles. It doesn't really matter whether someone in France likes King Charles, right? Because at the end of the day, it matters whether he's well liked in the Commonwealth. But the difference between abolishing the monarchy and the opinion of foreigners on that, and the difference between the world liking a monarch or not liking a monarch is very different. Because while our opinion on whether you should have monarchy or should not have monarchy does not affect you whatsoever, and it is not our place, it's still not necessarily our place to have an opinion on your monarch, but it does affect international relations. So you always want your monarch to be liked around the world, because they do represent your country as the face of the country, right? So there is just a little bit of a different political kind of political relationship here and political image here. So that's what I'm saying here. And again, I very much love Wales as, like, I think I, as a Ukrainian, really identify with the Welsh people. And I think that I really identify with how the Welsh preserve their culture, their language, how they fight for their traditions, how they fight for for Wales, right? And I think that one of the reasons why I actually deep dove so far into like researching Wales and researching the monarchy was because I read about King Charles in his youth when he was the Prince of Wales, going to Wales to study there and to understand the Welsh culture, basically just subdue Wales into being like, see, we care about you. And how he was trying to make Camilla is queen consort. And how he was trying to make a different impression, and how he really, yeah, Karina, I saw, that's awesome. One day I would love to visit you in Wales. Honestly, I like, there's so many places that I want to go to, but I feel like I feel so particularly strong for Wales. I think that I feel very particularly strong for Wales because I think that as a Ukrainian person, I can really feel for the Welsh, based on solely just, you know, the national spirit and the feel about our traditions and language and how important it is to our culture. So there is a lot more than I can say about it. I think I had like a late night live where I was elaborating on it more, but I just love Wales. And oh yeah, I will come back to London. For those of you who don't know, I was in England for a couple of years, and I lived in Kent. I lived in Broadstairs. I had a host family. I went to school there, like, I mean, as in like middle. I think I was there in middle school. So yeah, I will come back to London for sure because I do have a lot of friends there. But Wales has my heart. And even though I've never been to Wales, Wales has my heart, and I really want to fix never having been to Wales. Are you living in Ukraine? No, I'm living in the US for the last 11 years. My family lives in Ukraine, and I was born and raised there, and I moved out of there when I was 16 or 17. But so, yeah, so basically what I was trying to say is that for me, his actions in Wales were like hypocrisy, because he did manage to sway, you know, to not even sway, but he did manage to convince the Welsh for a second that he cared more than everybody else before him, right? And that he was going to actually do something, and that he wasn't just a title of the Prince of Wales that he doesn't deserve. And then he went ahead and really just was just another monarch who just, you know, learned enough Welsh to do a speech in it and then didn't do anything. And that's super disappointing. So yeah, so there is that. Oh, and I'm sure that we're going to see a trip to Wales from him sometime soon, you know, because he's now king. And he's going to bring his son, the Prince of Wales, you know, to the land he walked. Okay. So, I have watched The Crown, but I have watched The Crown with like a lot of, you know, The Crown does not shape my, The Crown does not shape my opinion of the royal family, because The Crown, while has the right chronology, it's very important to understand that The Crown is fiction, right? And a lot of the dialogue in The Crown, a lot of the stuff that's kind of going on there for the dramatic effect is not real. And like the dialogues between Diana and Charles, nobody was in that room. Nobody knows what they were talking about, right? So a lot of I liked The Crown as entertainment. I do not take The Crown seriously, right? And the problem is there are a lot of people who take The Crown very seriously, right? There was I think that one of the things that also makes people take The Crown more seriously than they should is that outrage of Prince Charles to The Crown, right? Because that just sort of shows that, you know, if he wasn't so bitter about it and butthurt about it, then maybe people would sort of move away from taking it as like the real events, right? It's based on real events. The chronology is right. The chronology of throne successions, the chronology of like what was happening with like the big events in the royal family is real. The conversations, the dynamic between characters, all of these things, we can't know that. We can't know that, and those things are completely fiction because uh, uh, it's completely fiction because no one can know these dynamics. The royal family is so guarded from the world, and so please, if you watch The Crown, do not take it seriously. It is good for entertainment. It is good for knowing like historical chronology. It is not like visualizing historical chronology. It is not by any means to be taken seriously. It's still a show for entertainment, right? But yeah. But what I was trying, we are talking about the UK. We're then going to be talking about Ukraine and news in Ukraine for the day, and then we are going to be talking about the UK a little bit more. But I started with with talking about the Queen, and so it's sort of no. So The Crown is a show. The Crown is also the term used to describe the British monarchy. So I understand where the confusion comes from. But yes, the Crown is there for traditional values. I fully understand that, but we're just kind of discussing it. But so what I was saying is that one of the things that drives me to absolutely not like King Charles is Wales, and not because I watched The Crown, but because I have vastly researched him and Wales, and I also think that it's so incredibly like slappish in the face of Wales to call the Crown Prince the Prince of Wales, while Wales does not seem to support the monarchy to begin with, and while none of these people usually speak Welsh or understand everything about Welsh traditions or do anything for Wales, really. Because the Prince of Wales, if anything, should not be a title, and if that title is granted, that person needs to immerse themselves into the Welsh culture, needs to understand the Welsh people, what the Welsh people need, and do things for the Welsh people, not just be like the Prince of Wales. I learned how to speak Welsh a little bit. It's probably, it's been so many years that I probably can't even remember how to say hello, but it's hypocrisy, and it's kind of disgusting, and there is a lot of stuff like that, but whatever, I'm not, again, I this is my thing. Really love Wales. Not so much Prince Charles. Let's hope that William is going to do a better job, but I highly doubt it, because it doesn't seem like any princes of Wales have ever actually really cared about Wales. So, but yeah, I have lots of thoughts on the monarchy, but not my place. We're also here, to sort of pay farewell to Queen Elizabeth. And to talk about Ukraine. And so that's what I was saying, that's what I was saying. The mood today is very strange. Well, I did call him King Charles. I just was referring to him in the past tense when he was the Prince of Wales, talking about the events that took place years and years and years ago. What do you mean? I'm very, very incredibly grateful for all of the support to Ukraine, Krina, and I think that most of the world found out on February 24th, and I know that I wish, obviously, that the world found out and believed us sooner, but at the same time, I am incredibly grateful for all the support that followed the full scale invasion. And I think one of the bigger reasons why nobody knew about the events in Ukraine was Russian propaganda, was the close ties to Russia, and was how Russia was shaping the world. And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And the thing is, like, holding on to something in the past is not going to, do any good, neither to neither party. And the thing is that you guys reacted, and the UK has shown an incredible amount of support. The UK people have stood up for Ukraine incredibly, and I am very grateful for your response to the full scale invasion. So it's kind of like, also, to be fair, before this, before the full scale invasion, we weren't screaming from the rooftops that it happened. As Ukrainians, we're pretty humble people, and when something crappy comes our way, we accept it and we just fight for it. We fight for it. We fight against it, and we're used to being on our own. So we're used to being on our own. So basically, when the invasion of Donbass happened and nobody believed us and everybody was calling it a civil war, after a while we just accepted it, and then we were doing what we could do to fight it. But to be fair, we also weren't necessarily trying to convince the world otherwise, because we just didn't expect much from the world, right? And then when the full scale invasion happened and everybody erupted in support, I think that most of us were incredibly not only grateful, but also surprised. And also, like, we can't blame people for not knowing Eastern European history. First of all, Russia did a very, 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 very good job in hiding what really happened, right? Also, Russia did an incredible job at posing this war as an internal conflict. So, привіт. So I don't blame anybody for not knowing. I don't blame anybody for not erupting in support the way everybody did on February 24th. I'm grateful that people did erupt in support on February 24th, because that's when we needed it most. When we needed it most, when we needed the support the most, is when you guys actually came through. So I think it's silly to blame people for not knowing, or it's silly to blame people for not helping or something like that, or it's silly to blame countries for not standing up for us. It's sort of like, it's water under the bridge. You're helping now, and you're here now. And when it mattered the most, you came through at the end of the day, right? And to be fair, there's so many factors that contributed to nobody knowing what was happening. And none of these factors are just like general ignorance, right? They are they're tied to Russia's tireless propaganda, trying to pose us as just another oblast that should be Russia. Hi, the Netherlands, and Heroyam Slava. Oh my gosh, George, there is a video on my page specifically aimed at that question. And that Boris Johnson showed support for Zelensky and now he's replaced by Truss. What now? There is a video specifically aimed at you and that question. Specifically. It's the people of the UK that support Ukraine, largely. It's the politicians in the UK that support Ukraine. It's the general whole mass of the UK that supports Ukraine. Boris is just a face of that support. Like, Boris is not a one-man con, And it's kind of like disrespectful to the people in the UK to be like, oh no, Boris is gone. What now? Are they going to support Ukraine? Like, yes. We think the people first and foremost, not the man without a comb. And like, we're going to be fine, We're gonna be fine. Before 1991, did Ukrainians consider themselves occupied by Soviet Union? Yes. Yes. we did consider ourselves occupied by the Soviet Union. Also, the Queen supported Ukraine. Now, will things change exactly? Hi, Arland. How are you doing? I'm okay. Good to see you. Very, very good to see you. What is getting confusing? Oh, okay. So I see. Okay, you guys are having your own Twitch conversation. Gotcha. Okay, so there is like a separate conversation going on in the Twitch comments about the history of the monarchy. Yeah, trust is just as supportive. Truss is just as supportive as Boris Johnson was, and also like here is the thing, like it's the Welsh, it's the Scottish, it's the English, it's the Irish people who support Ukraine, right? If you go to any city in the UK and in Ireland, you're welcomed by all of the Ukrainian flags. People are so welcoming, people are so helpful, and it's the people who accommodate Ukrainian refugees and take them in. It's the people who organize, support, and go to Ukraine to evacuate people from the front lines. It's not Boris, right? It's the people who send care packages. It's the people who organize the supply of meds. It's the people who do all of these things. It's not Boris. Boris is just the face of this support for Ukraine. Right? And also, Ireland is so supportive of Ukraine. Ireland canceled visas, and Ireland has nothing to do with Boris to begin with, So it's like there is an immense amount of support in that area of the world, and it's coming from the people first and foremost, not from Boris. And also, if anything, here's the thing. Ireland canceled visas for Ukrainians, so we now can go visa-free. But we can't go visa-free to the UK. Not that I'm complaining, but I'm just saying that, there is support. There is a lot of support. Aww. Aw, Karina. Towards the brave people of Ukraine. Well, and we are really, 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 really incredibly grateful. 7 Ukraine families in my street. We all help each other out, food, money, etc. That's very sweet. I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you for being so. Hi, Pongs. Thank you for being so incredibly sweet and amazing. I really do appreciate everybody taking care of Ukrainian refugees, everybody taking in Ukrainian refugees, and everybody being, so welcoming and supportive to the Ukrainian refugees. And honestly, as I said, like yeah, that'd be great, Karina. I really, anytime somebody asks me how Ukrainians feel about the fact, how Ukrainians feel about the world only finding out on the 24th of February, we feel grateful that you guys did find out and that you guys did support us and that you guys are supporting us and that you guys are open to continuing to support us. So there is really not like, I never think that question is like, is anything that should be questioned. We're happy. We're happy that we have the world behind us, and we're happy that the truth is finally out there, and we're happy that people can now see us for what we are and stop calling us Russian. And people don't say, for the most part, oh, you're from Ukraine, so Russian then. Oh, same thing, right? And we're happy that there is now, it's very evident the differences between us and the Russians, and we're happy that we don't have to deal with being called Russians, and we're incredibly happy that so many amazing people standing up for us and helping us and willing to learn about us and willing to fix the notion that Ukraine is just Russia and is just the same thing as Russia. And also there is somebody that just followed me on Twitch whose name is Metzer with 2 capital Z's. And so please say something, because that sounds like a Russian troll handle, and I don't know if I'm about that. I don't know if I'm about that, because here's what's gonna end up happening. Please let me know what that handle means and why it has two capital Z's in it, because if that is in support of Russia, then I would like to know. All I learned is Slava Ukraini. Well, how do I am Slava, but the rest of the language painful. Oh yeah, it's so different. It's so different. I'm no Russian. I'm from USA West Coast. Okay, but are the Z's? It's my old gamer Quake game back from the 90s. I mesmerize people with my gaming skills. Okay, thank you. Because with the modern interpretation of the two Z's, it's very hard to know whether it's whether it's a good thing or not a good thing. So I'm like, please let me know. Suspense. I'm waiting. But good to know. Welcome. Thank you for joining the stream. I'm still struggling with saying I'm happy or tired. Well, я щасливий is I'm happy. Я втомлений is I'm tired. For a man, for a woman, я щаслива is a thank you. Oh my gosh, the corgi has a skateboard now. Sorry. I'm also streaming on TikTok for those who don't know, and TikTok has these like cute little gifts, and there is a gift of a corgi, and they have added a skateboard to it, and I can't, just like the cutest thing I've seen. I like my double Z's, it's noticeable, that's why I did it. Besides, all of the Nazis can kiss it if they don't like it. Well, the Nazis do like it, that's the thing. The Nazis do like it. The Ukrainians, however, quite traumatizing. But yeah, I already talked extensively about Queen Elizabeth. If you'd like to hear my thoughts on it, it's on YouTube. You can scroll back and forth and see, or you can watch it after this. But we're gonna cover a little more of it at the end of the stream for sure. But for now, I want to a little more back to Ukraine, because while the moods in the world today are two polar opposites, the Queen did live long. She's the longest reigning monarch, which is quite wow. And she became a monarch very, very fast. Also, the closing statement is, for those of you who don't know, also if you're interested, I can do a live later tonight about British monarchy, because I actually do know a hell lot about it. Sort of just history, no thoughts, no commentary. Again, not my place, but rather history. If you didn't know that Queen Elizabeth was actually never supposed to be the crown princess, and her dad was never supposed to be the crown prince. His brother abdicated the throne, and that's how basically he became king. And so she was never in the line of succession, in direct line of succession, and it was very unlikely that she would ever become queen. So it was kind of like a chance, and then her dad died in a very untimely death. So she took over the throne very young, very unprepared at that time. It was an incredible event, and it was a lot to take on. So if you're interested, I can do that. I can do that later, but right now I kind of want to circle back to the news about Ukraine, which are a very polar opposite. Yes, I can. I mean, I can do blatant history. I can do a video on King Charles that is just history, but again, I want to refrain from my personal commentary. I can't say that, his reputation is quite tarnished by a lot of events from history, but I'm not going to, kind of elaborate on how I feel about him. I will do a video on him. Yeah. So then, oh, that's so much. That's so honest. That's so awesome. My gosh, that's so much. That's so great. Something I finally know. I read a lot about the Queen. Very interested in the history. Okay, awesome. Okay, well, so then we'll do a couple of videos honoring the Queen and kind of talking about the history of the monarchy, and we'll talk a little bit about King Charles. If my followers from the UK don't mind, because again, I really don't want to kind of overstep a boundary here. Basically, the moods around the world are very different today because on the one hand, there is a tragic event going on in the UK. The Queen has passed after so many years of reigning, and after so many presidents of the US that she's lived through. I don't remember quite how many, but must be more than like 13. And basically, today is an incredibly sad day in the UK and for a lot of the people around the world. 17. Okay, so the Queen through 17 US presidents. Phenomenal. Just phenomenal. And I really wanted to say a tribute because it is a very sad day. But on the other side of Europe, of the continent of Europe, there is Ukraine. That is my country. And the news today in Ukraine are the polar opposite of what is happening in the UK. Ukraine is celebrating one of the most effective, one of the largest counteroffensives, quite literally known to modern history. And what I want to open with is that nobody expected the Kharkiv offensive to happen, the Northeast offensive, right? Nobody really expected the Eastern offensive to happen or the Southern offensive to happen. Everybody had so much doubts and so much kind of disbelief, right? And then Ukraine launched the Southern counteroffensive and went completely dark on information. And there were speculations. Russians were kind of like posting in their social media saying that it's a big fail, that the counteroffensive is not working, that they're destroying the Ukrainian troops, that nothing's happening. And then boom, and Ukraine launched another counteroffensive, and that was in the Kharkiv region, which is northeast. And actually, that counteroffensive that no one expected has been going much better than, well, not much better, but even more successful than the counteroffensive everywhere else. Ukraine has a record amount of territory back in 24 hours. They have gained more territory back in 24 hours than Russia had gained since like June. So since June to September, Russia has gained an X amount of territory and Ukraine took that territory back in 24 hours. There was like an information blackout for a while. And then today, all of the news started coming out, and there has been so much from the front lines. And it is Ukrainian advantage on the front lines in the northeast, the south, and the east is staggering over Russians. There are battalions that quite literally run away. There are phone calls being intercepted between Russian soldiers where they're saying, I'm not coming back home. Their sisters or mothers or someone are saying like, oh, you'll tell us about it when you come back. And they're like, I'm not going to come back. I'm sorry. I know I'm not going to come back. I'm not going to survive this. Like we had, there are phone calls like this. They're phone calls where Russian soldiers are talking to their families, also saying there were 200 members of my battalion, there are 10 left. There are videos from the front lines of Ukrainians just absolutely crushing it. There are videos from the front lines of Russians just running away and leaving their equipment, surrendering. Basically, the Russian journalists on the front lines are freaking out because they have never actually seen the real combat. All of the combat was staged. There is Metzer is saying, I've seen an article talking about Ukrainians being taken to Russia. Is that going on? Yes, they're being forcefully deported to Russia from Mariupol and other occupied cities. And there has been an incredible amount of Ukrainians that had been forcefully deported into Russia. It's very, very tragic. But basically the counteroffensive has been going more, really much more effective than anybody could have imagined. And so today in Ukraine, the news are more positive than ever. I have reposted a lot of different things from the front lines and will be doing so today. Hi, Gorilla Joe. Throughout the day as the news comes on Twitter. Honestly, there's so much news that I need to really that I really need to, and videos and photos and just everything that I really need to, they're infiltration camps. So like they're literally in concentration camps that I really need to like go through them to pick and choose what I think is actually worth posting versus what isn't. So I will do that, and I will keep retweeting things so you guys can see more videos and photos and evidence from the front lines that has been released. So we have gone from the informational blackout to informational wipeout or whiteout, an informational boom, so to speak. And so there is a lot going on today. Kyiv Independent alone has released over 100 updates. Ukrainian Struggle Center, which is this very interesting news channel, had been releasing a lot of videos from the front lines. I will try to show them to you. A little later in the newscast. I don't want to show you too much because honestly, we're not allowed to show graphic stuff here on TikTok. I will be banned for that. So we're not going to do that. We're going to be, mindful of that. And yeah, without further ado, I'm going to jump into the news today, and we're going to start off strong with a 6-year-old girl who is being very, very successful in relearning how to walk. But before we do that, because it's been an hour and 13 minutes since we started this newscast, I need to go to the bathroom. So I'm going to leave you with Cinny, who is my little adorable French bulldog that we renamed into a Scottish bulldog because, well, I prefer Scotland to what France has been doing in terms of this invasion. And it does look like Macron is a little bit too close to Putin and a little too into him. So we have renamed Cinny into a Scottish bulldog. And so Cinny Cam is going to come over here because I'm going to put a treat in front of her. Yes, treat. Yes, you heard that correctly. And I'm going to see if Cinny is going to eat it while I am, over here trying to go to the powder room. So give me a moment. See. Are you ready? Are you gonna be a good girl? Are you gonna be a good bulldog? Cinny, you gotta make Scotland proud. Cinny, they can't blame you if you're not gonna be, hey, Yulia, come here. Come here, Ribs. Come here. Sit. Okay, wait. You see the treats. Cinny is a very spoiled little Scottish bulldog. Make Scotland proud. Don't you dare eating the treats while I'm gone. Cinny. Station in Scotland depends on it. Wait. Oh, Cindy, how dare you? Cindy, you had to wait like a second. Who is a bad bulldog? Well, look at that. How are you going to explain it to Scotland now? Guys, you don't claim her. You don't claim her. You don't claim her. Cindy, Scotland doesn't claim you. Cindy, do you really want to be a French bulldog? Cindy, you have been given an honorary title. Oh, I remember Frenchie being that size. Yeah. Well, she's 2.5 years old. She's fully grown. She's a fully grown Scottish bulldog. Fully grown Scottish bulldog, right? Fully grown Scottish bulldog. You're a fully grown bulldog. Yeah, fully grown bulldog. Are you a fully grown bulldog? Who is my little? Who is my little? My little hungry little thing. Little hungry. Mwah. No. Cindy ASMR has taught Yulia ASMR, okay? Like Yulia has gotten all of my ASMR skills from Cindy. I feel like I've learned from her all of the and all of these things. And now I'm okay. You ready? You ready? Come on, come here. Okay, thank you, baby. That was very nice of you to let me sit back down. Oh. Okay. Yes. Oh, you want more? You want more, huh? Honey, you didn't fulfill your obligation. Oh, look at this little gremlin. Look at this little gremlin. Honey. Okay, fine. We'll do it again later. But you gotta. What is that? Why do we have little allergies everywhere, Cindy? Why do I keep finding little allergies everywhere? Cindy. Cat told her go. Well, she can't read, so it's not because of Cat, because of, Cindy herself. So, okay, without further ado, let's start on the news about Ukraine. What I do want to say is there is a new resistance movement. Well, two things. One, for those of you who weren't on here earlier, I've been talking about an interview that I've been preparing to take from someone for a while now, and I submitted questions to basically OPSEC, because in order to take an interview from this person, OPSEC needs to approve my questions. So OPSEC has finally, after like 4 days, I submitted them on Saturday, and it's Thursday. So 5 days, they have approved my questions, and the person has gotten back to me. Nice to meet you as well. And the person has gotten back to me saying that OPSEC has approved the questions. So there is an interview, hopefully, coming to the YouTube channel. I cannot do it live because OPSEC is not going to let me. They have to see the video before I can publish it, obviously. So I am now going to be talking to the person and establishing a time when the interview is going to happen. Once we have all of the details ironed out, I will tell you who I'm going to be interviewing. I will tell you on Patreon tonight which one of the, because Patreon people know who I'm going to be interviewing, or rather, like, they know the general gist of it. They just don't know which particular person. I'm going to tell you which particular person I'm going to be interviewing on Patreon tonight. Then everybody else is going to find out once we have straightened out the time and everything. And then I will let you know approximately when the video is going to release, because something tells me if it took OPSEC so long to verify the questions and to approve the questions, then it's probably going to take them even longer to look at the video and tell me if I can release it. So I'm going to give you like a timeline of everything. I'm going to try and edit it as soon as possible. The one thing that's going to have to happen is basically the interview to be either in Ukrainian or in Russian. And then we're gonna dub it over with English voiceover done by Matt, one of my amazing moderators who's also a voiceover artist, for your convenience. And I'm going to release it both in its original language and in English. So there are going to be two videos. If you're Ukrainian, or if you're Ukrainian, you are going to be able to watch it in the original. If you are a speaker, you're going to be able to watch it in English. Heroyam Slava. So we're going to be doing that, and that's very fantastic news for me. I'm incredibly excited. Heroyam Slava. Oh, Vasily, OPSEC confirmed my questions.
What?
OPSEC confirmed my questions.
Cool. So you were going to have an interview.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking to them about the interview. I just haven't told anybody yet who the interview is with, so we're kind of,
I was thinking that you sent it live.
Hmm?
I was thinking that you has ended live.
No, I did not.
I was thinking like you said something. Okay, guys, they have to go.
No. We're just starting in the news about Ukraine. Everything before this was about the British royal family.
Okay.
But yes, well, rather a tribute to the Queen and my Scottish bulldog, and so yes, so that's one piece of very great news. Another piece of interesting news is that there has been a new symbol of Ukrainian resistance that has emerged in not only Mariupol but all occupied territories, and that symbol is the letter Y. Y is the letter in Ukrainian alphabet, in Ukrainian Cyrillics, that does not exist in Russian Cyrillic alphabet. They don't have that letter. So Y is basically an I with two dots instead of one, and it's pronounced as Y. And it's a symbol of Ukrainian resistance in occupied territories. And I want to introduce you guys to this symbol because I would like for you to be able to use it in support of people in Ukraine in the territories. So I have made a series of posters and posted them onto my Instagram and Twitter for you to copy and repost and share and basically spread it, because I think that graphics spread better than just writing, right? And so I will be doing a bunch of different compilations of these posters, so you guys can share them, so you guys can comment them on Twitter, so you guys can do things like that. Because for instance, on Twitter, if you are writing a comment to something and it says Mariupol, or it says Kherson, or it says Kharkiv, or it says Zaporizhia, or anything like that, you're able to just, respond with a photo of, with a poster of Y. And one of the reasons why I was trying to do it as a poster is because also I want the letter to stand for more than just a letter. Thank you so much. Because I want it to depict exactly what's happening. So yesterday I did a series of posters on Mariupol with the letter Y. And today I will do a series on Kherson. Tomorrow I will do the series on Kharkiv region and Zaporizhia region and Berdyansk and Melitopol and all of the other cities. So this is the series of posters, and they depict basically the headlines about the invasion of Ukraine by Russia that were the biggest. And then in the background, you see Azovstal. Here in the background, you see the Mariupol maternity hospital. Here in the background, you see one of the main buildings in Mariupol that was kind of literally blown up in half, and there is a Ukrainian flag falling off of it, and it's damaged but still there. And then you also see Mariupol Drama Theater, because those were the most atrocious crimes committed by Russians in Mariupol. And so, symbol of resistance. So if you follow me on Twitter or you follow me on Instagram, please feel free to save these images, and please feel free to use them. Please repost them. Please put them on your story. Please retweet them. Please do things like that, because I know that it might seem like I just want these images reposted, but I feel like the understanding of of what Yi is. We are supporting the resistance, and I think with visual symbols, it is much better to understand what it stands for. I was trying to do my best to encompass the mood and encompass what it means in like a poster, you know, saying words at all, and I hope that it did the job. And I feel like if somebody who doesn't know what it is just sees the symbol Yi, they might not understand what's happening. But if somebody sees Yi and sees these and sees these events in the background, it might give them more understanding, and they might also start reposting it, and they might also start talking about it. And the goal here is to keep talking about Mariupol, to keep talking about Kherson, keep talking about Crimea, to keep talking about Azovstal, to keep talking about who are still in Russian, right? Who still haven't been exchanged, who are nourished, who are going through a lot. So, without further ado, the past 24 hours in relation to Ukraine. 6-year-old Marina is learning to walk on her new prostheses. On April 2nd, during Russian missile attack in Kherson, her leg was torn off, and her mother suffered leg injuries too. The girl is currently undergoing, thank you so much. The girl is currently undergoing physical and psychological rehabilitation. Doctors of the Ohmedit Children's Hospital say she used to be afraid even to wear the prostheses, but now she has even given it a name, Kesha. So this is the little girl, and this is how she is learning how to walk on her new prosthetic leg. This is her as well. Дякую, Asa. And this is her mom. Oh, sorry. So this is the girl and this is her mom. And they are now than they were before, obviously, and it's really great to see the little girl learning how to walk. Kherson has always been known for its incredibly delicious watermelons. This year, Ukrainians were not able to enjoy them. Reuters show that soon Kherson watermelons will be Ukrainian again. And this is, as always, a video from Ukraine Now, which you know I love as a compilation of facts that are presented in a very digestible, very easy, and very kind of like educational manner. So I am going to go ahead and plop them right over full screen on YouTube, and also so you guys can see I can see the video on TikTok as well. So bear with me for 1 second. Let me prop it up for you so you can see it well. And you know, I love showing you Ukraine Now videos because I think they're very well done, and I think they give you a lot of information, and I really like using them in my newscasts. So let's see. Right over. So yeah, this one was very short, short and sweet, but you know, we still love to see it. And we still love to see Kherson watermelons soon coming back to Ukraine. Hi, Truthful. Hi. Good to see you. Tilda Swinton appeared at the Venice Film Festival with yellow hair in honor of the Ukrainian flag. I'm honored to wear half of the Ukrainian flag, the actress said when a journalist complimented her hairstyle. This is what it looked like. Volunteers evacuated a bear from Bakhmut, Donetsk region, which almost died under the shelling. The Russians constantly shelled the area around the premise, and the animal could have died at any moment. Так, розповідаю наразі. The bear was evacuated during the shelling, but the evacuation was successful. Soldiers of the 15th Separate Mountain Assault Brigade assisted volunteers. The animal is currently being taken to a shelter where it will undergo rehabilitation. As you know, we as Ukrainians really love our wildlife, and we also really love life in general, so we aid it as much as we can. Missile model from 1964, and I mean the year, not the serial number, somewhere in Ukraine was found by Ukrainian defenders, and that was launched by the Russians. The missile is quite literally from 1964. So this is the second greatest army in the world with their super modern tech. Ukraine will receive 105mm howitzers from Lithuania, the Lithuanian Ministry of Defense reported. The Ukrainian military shot down 2 enemy Su-25 attack aircraft. The targets were eliminated by air defense units of the 27th Separate Airborne Syiaslav Brigade and the 80th Separate Airborne Assault Brigade of the Airborne Forces. The Russian military destroyed the building of a psychiatric hospital in Kramatorsk, town mayor Alexander Honcharenko. The hospital was shelled last night. Fortunately, there were no casualties, but the medical facility was seriously damaged. Here is how the Ukrainian armed forces soldiers were greeted in the liberated territories. So that's very, very, very sweet to see. Now, this is Zolochiv in the region of Kharkiv, and this is a compilation of 8 photos from there after its liberation. And yes, Juju, we have the ice cream truck again, which we also wholeheartedly love on this channel. I'm not sure if the North Korean soldiers are going to the war from the Russian side, but I do know that North Korea has been selling Russia weapons, though those weapons are probably going to be just as modern as the 1964 missiles that we have seen Russia sending before. Here is the work of Ukrainian tank men. Наша славна Україна зажурилася. The United States and Albania initiated the UN Security Council meeting regarding forced deportation of Ukrainian citizens by Russia. Ukrainian counteroffensive in the south is unfolding successfully, and if there are no unexpected turns, the armed forces of Ukraine could deoccupy Kherson by October. Former chief of the French military mission to the United Nations, General Dominique Trinquant. So here's the thing. Ukraine is saying that our mission is to liberate Kherson by the end of the year. There have been multiple military experts that have come out in the past week saying that Ukraine could actually liberate Kherson by October. So even faster than Ukraine is hoping to liberate Kherson if everything goes as well as it's been going. Senior US and Ukrainian officials told reporters that Ukrainian defenders aim to liberate the occupied Kherson region by the end of the year, as they have made progress in the south, said CNN. The resistance of the local population in the Kherson region doesn't allow the Russians to hold a pseudo-referendum. The main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine reports this. According to their information, the armed forces of Ukraine, together with locals, are gradually repulsing the occupiers. As a result, the Russian invaders cannot hold a referendum in the region. Institute for the Study of War reports how much territory the Ukrainian armed forces had gained in the Kharkiv region. And these numbers are staggering. It's one of the most impressive offensives that we have seen in the modern world. Thank you, Victor Spade. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you saying that. And honestly, the numbers are staggering. It's one of the most impressive offensives we have seen in the modern history. And just to give you a perspective, since June, Russia has gained an X amount of territory. In the past 24 hours, Ukraine has regained that territory back. So what took Russia months to accumulate, Ukraine has taken back in 24 hours. The Ukrainian military, taking advantage of the redeployment of Russian forces, carried out an effective counterattack to the northwest of Izum, advanced at least 20 kilometers, and gained 400 square kilometers in the Kharkiv region alone. Operational Command South, the armed forces of Ukraine destroyed more than 100 invaders, enemy Grad multiple rocket launchers, S-400 missile systems, other Russian equipment, and ammunition depots in the south in one day. An aircraft with military aid for Ukraine departed from Spain, the office of the Prime Minister of the country. Thank you, Truthful. Shelling of the Kharkiv region in a day, regional military administration. The Russian invaders launched 5 missile strikes on the city's infrastructure. After midnight, the occupiers struck 2 districts of the city. They preliminarily used S-300 missiles again. The object of critical infrastructure, premises on the production territory were damaged. At present, there are no casualties. Attacks were carried out in 4 districts across the region. Private houses and outbuildings were damaged. Fires broke out. 8 people were among the wounded, including a 2-year-old child. The condition of the wounded is assessed as moderate. Today, the Pentagon will announce a new $675 million military supply package to Ukraine. According to the Washington Post, it will include new missiles for HIMARS as well as military vehicles. The Putin administration officials control filtration operations in Ukraine, according to the U.S. officials. United States Ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, stated this at the UN Security Council meeting. The forcible transfer of deportation of protected persons from occupied territories to the territory of the occupier is a grave breach of the 4th Geneva Convention on the Protection of Civilians and constitutes a war crime, the U.S. representative said. She emphasized that according to the available data, Russian authorities have reportedly filtered and deported between 900,000 and 1.6 million Ukrainian citizens to the Russian Federation, often to remote regions in the Far East. So something they were doing with gulags, something they were doing back in the day, and something they are doing today. I want to be clear. The United States has information that officials from Russia's presidential administration are overseeing and coordinating these filtration operations. According to her, this is all being done by the occupation authorities to prepare for the annexation of the seized territories of Ukraine to hold sham referendums. Привет, Chernobyevka girl. Привет, Jenya. Particularly in the Kherson and Zaporizhia regions. So this is a tactic that Russia has had since imperial times. They deport citizens of territories that they're trying to invade, and they quite literally place Russians instead of those citizens to make it look like Russians have always lived there. They also usually deport these citizens of the territories that they're trying to occupy to very, 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 very far remote areas of Russia in order for these citizens to have absolutely no way to come back, because it's so far, there is no infrastructure, there is no communications. These are usually the areas that we joke have no toilets, electricity, gas, and stuff like that, because they don't. And they really have barely any ability for these people to kind of move around, to find out new info, to leave. So they are stuck there. This is how, Siberia happened. We've all heard about the gulags in Siberia. People were just shipped there to never come back. And in a lot of instances, they quite literally were dying in transit because of the conditions of the transit. They were also very often transported there, obviously not in a great condition to begin with, because they were wounded or something was happening to them and nobody was there to attend to what was happening to them. And Russia is, just standing in the footsteps of the Russian Empire and of the Soviet Union and is doing the same freaking thing again. So these are the gulags that Ukrainians from occupied territories are being sent to and forcefully deported to. Fantastic. General Staff, the Armed Forces of Ukraine destroyed the Russian command post and fuel warehouse. Over the past day, Ukrainian troops hit a Russian command post, fuel and lubricant warehouses, an accumulation of manpower, weapons, and equipment. The Ukrainian Armed Forces military aircraft, supported by ground forces, carried out over 30 strikes on Russian strongholds and places of troops' concentrations. Hi, Zhenya. Do you want to do a live with me for 10-15 minutes now? Are you only available for 10-15 minutes? Because I am like halfway through the news and this live is already an hour and 42 minutes long because we were talking about Queen Elizabeth in the beginning, and I still have basically all of the news for today to go through. Unless you want to join on the news reading, then could we do it later tonight? Because I would love to do it live with you, but I also really need to go through the news because there is a lot that happened today. But let's schedule something for like tomorrow or for whenever you're available, because I would love to talk to you very soon. The invaders shelled the Dnipropetrovsk region 4 times with Grad multiple rocket launchers and heavy artillery. Preliminarily, no one was injured, the head of the regional military administration, Valentin Reznichenko. The UN mission in the coming days... American, I'm interested in news that is not riddled with propaganda. Well, the news here is not riddled with propaganda. The news here, Mezer, is the news that I'm delivering is from all of the accredited international sources like Reuters, like Die Welt, like Kyiv Post and Ukrainian frontline news resources, a lot of the Kyiv Independent, the videos from the front lines, so you will not be finding any propaganda here. And most of the news, when they're not confirmed yet, I will say that they're not confirmed yet, so we're waiting on the confirmation. So the UN mission in the coming days will arrive in Olenivka, where Ukrainian Azov prisoners of war were killed. Rosemary DiCarlo, UN Under-Secretary General for Political and Peace-Building Affairs, stated this at a meeting of the UN Security Council. In the coming days, a fact-finding mission is set to deploy to Olenivka to probe an incident on July 29th that led to the death of 53 Ukrainian prisoners of war and injured between 75 and 130 others. The head of the mission, General Alberto de Santos Cruz, sorry, that was very American of me, is traveling with a team of senior officers and experts. The mission must be able to conduct its work without any interference and have safe, secure, and unfettered access to people, places, and evidence. So basically, let me remind you that what happened in Olenivka is that's where the Azovstal defenders were being kept in Russian captivity. Then they miraculously died in a warehouse, and Russia said that it was a HIMARS strike from the side of Ukraine. However, the pattern of what happened there I had a notice, perhaps it's on your end. Okay, so so basically, sorry, I just wanted to make sure that the technical difficulties were just a personal thing, not the technical difficulties on Twitch were just for Juju, not for everybody. But so basically, yes. So what happened in Olenivka on July 29th is Ukrainian POWs, the defenders of Mariupol, the defenders of Azovstal, battalion of Azov, and a lot of others were kept, well, mostly Azov, were kept in a prison in Olenivka. The night before, they were moved from one facility to another facility, and then they were burned alive. Russia then came out and said that it was a HIMARS strike from Ukraine. However, the pattern of damage inflicted onto the facility does not represent a HIMARS strike at all, because the walls were intact, some of the windows were intact, everything around the facility was intact. It was burned from the inside. And so the UN is going to set out to do a fact-finding mission to see what is it that actually happened in Olenivka that annihilated 53 Ukrainian defenders and severely injured 75 to 130 others. Okay, Chi-Chi, the chimpanzee nicknamed Armageddon, who escaped from the Kharkiv zoo, became the star of the world press. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there was a chimpanzee that escaped from the Kharkiv zoo and and was running around the Kharkiv streets, and then the workers from the zoo had to like come and convince the monkey, the ape, to literally come back to the zoo. It didn't want to. Then it started raining, and they had to give it a coat and like convince it to go. And so it was like all over the news because it was like the most hilarious thing ever. So the world media wrote about Chi-Chi's adventure: the Washington Post, the New York Post, the Guardian, German, French, and Spanish press. Before the war, Chi-Chi lived in a private eco park that was in the line of fire after a full-scale invasion of Russian troops. Dozens of animals were killed, but many managed to be evacuated. And he was one of them. So this is Chi-Chi. If you haven't seen him, he is quite the star. He was just kind of, having a field trip around Kharkiv. He liked it there. And then it started raining. And unfortunately, he didn't have his raincoat with him. So he had to resort to running back to the employee of the zoo who put the raincoat on him. And then he didn't want to walk back to the zoo. So they had to put him on a bicycle and quite literally ride him back, So he was very well attended to. But so here he is just kind of chilling, Up. He was having a great time. He's just kind of like this part where he's scared of the rain and he doesn't like it. Hi, Robin. Business to attend to. Yes, Sky. This part where he literally wanted a rain jacket because he didn't like the rain is my favorite thing, where he was giving, like, look at that. She's giving him a rain jacket. It's a rain jacket. Like this dude has a better life than I don't know, like no one puts a rain jacket this like lovingly on me. I don't even have a rain jacket this nice, Nobody gives me a hug after I get soaked in the rain. But so here he is, riding his bike back to the zoo. This is one of my favorite things that I have seen because it is just so sweet. Belarusian troops started training near Ukraine and Poland borders. The press service of the Ministry of Defense of Belarus. The Ministry of Defense said that the military exercises would continue until September 14th. The purpose of the command and staff exercises was called to practice the cohesion of troops units and their command and control. Troops will practice liberation of captured territories actions, taking control of borders, air support of troops, as well as combating illegal formations and sabotage groups. The ministry emphasized that foreign observers from the military diplomatic corps accredited at the ministry were invited to the active phase of the exercises. The ministry did not specify from which countries these observers were from. So it looks like Belarus is preparing to less so to help with the invasion of Ukraine. It looks more like they're preparing to militarily dissimulate internal rebellions, because they know that Belarusians are very, very, very tired of Lukashenko. And what gives me that idea is combating illegal formations and sabotage groups. Bloomberg, Biden to hold video summit with allies on further export for Ukraine and the war with Russia. Leaders of the Group of Seven, NATO, and the European Union will attend the meeting. It is not announced who else would join the conversation. Biden seeks to maintain unity in support of Ukraine. His conversation with the leaders fell on a week when the change of power occurred in Great Britain, and Liz Truss, who is positioning herself as a hawk in confrontation with Russia, became the prime minister. Ukraine to receive an invitation to the first summit of the new EU political format. Invitations will be sent out soon for the summit scheduled to take place on 6th to 7th October in Prague, with leaders of the six Western Balkan countries: Norway, Switzerland, Iceland, Liechtenstein, the United Kingdom, Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, expected to receive them, the EU official told reporters. Grumpy, he's not doing anything wrong. Grumpy, he's not doing anything really wrong. Grumpy, that was not nice. That was a boot for no reason. The idea for the new forum, a brainchild of French President Emmanuel Macron, is to provide a platform for political dialogue and cooperation while including countries aspire to join the EU and those happy remaining outside of the bloc. The main purpose is to have a political discussion on strategic issues of common interest for the European continent. The EU official said, adding that the main issues will include Russia's war against Ukraine, the energy crisis, and Europe's economic situation. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Kyiv on an unannounced visit. Press Secretary of the President of Ukraine, Serhiy Nikiforov, confirmed. According to Nikiforov, a meeting between Blinken and Zelensky is planned. The Associated Press reports that Blinken is expected to announce a new aid package worth more than $2 billion for Ukraine and other European countries, potentially threatened by Russia in the future. U.S. Department of Defense, Ramstein 5 meeting participants will discuss long-term support for Ukraine today. The contact group has increased to more than 50 participating members. Now the focus will shift a bit, the official said, as Ukraine and its partners must think for not only today's fights, but the future. We've been talking to allies and partners about the need to think long-term, the official said. Do you find it highly likely to get movement from Belarus, or is it just a distraction on their part for fear and response? I think it's a distraction on their part for fear and response, because Belarus is not going to put themselves into this conflict first, because Lukashenko is going to be quite literally overthrown by the people of Belarus if he does that. And second, because they don't necessarily have the military capability for that. All because Russia's Putin is counting on outlasting Ukraine and its allies. The Russian leader did not expect the outrage over the invasion of Ukraine, and certainly did not expect the solidarity of purpose in supporting Ukraine as it defends its sovereignty. The Russians didn't expect the international community in general, and certainly Europe and the United States, specifically to come to Ukraine's political, diplomatic, economic, and military assistance, the official said. 5 more vessels left the ports of Odessa through the grain corridor. Ministry of National Defense of Turkey. Hi, call me Hi, Jim. Morning shelling of Kharkiv. It is already known 2 people were unalived and 5 more were wounded due to the shelling of the Industrialny district or industrial district of the city. The head of the regional military administration, Oleg Sinahubov. UNESCO announced the opening of the cultural center in Lviv. $1.5 million were allocated for it. It is supposed to become a place of meetings and experience exchange for artists, for holding educational programs and various cultural and artistic events. Now, I, being from Lviv, am very excited for this because Lviv, to begin with, is protected by the UNESCO heritage. The entire city is. Now, soon Odessa most likely is going to be protected by the UNESCO heritage as well. And now we're going to have a UNESCO cultural center in Lviv, which I think is going to be an incredible thing for artists, for youth, and for just the development of cultural practices in my region and in my city. Donetsk Regional Military Administration reports that the night was restless in many areas of the front lines. The Russian invaders hit the Bakhmut Palace of Culture. 2 people were wounded. The State Emergency Service of Ukraine is working on the site. A sports complex was damaged in the town of Soledar. The Russians launched a rocket attack on the town of Kurakhova. They hit a private house and the road. The British media are reporting on the deteriorating health of Queen Elizabeth. That happened this morning before we found out that unfortunately the Queen has passed away, fortunately peacefully, at the Balmoral Castle. Biden approved a new U.S. aid package to Ukraine of about $675 million, the Pentagon chief, Lloyd Austin, at the opening of the Ramstein 5 defense ministers meeting. According to Mr. Austin, the package will include howitzers, artillery ammunition, HARM missiles, Humvee military trucks, armored ambulances, and small arms. Bloomberg, the United States has supplied Ukraine with its most accurate Excalibur GPS-guided artillery projectiles. The Excalibur, with precise guidance, allows commanders in the battlefield to aim targets more accurately. It has a range of 40.5 kilometers, according to documents. The U.S. Department of Defense will send $92 million worth of additional funds approved by Congress to purchase M982 Excalibur munitions provided to Ukraine in support of international efforts to counter Russian aggression. The budget document says. Luhansk Regional Military Administration says Russia directed its main forces to capture the city of Bakhmut in the Donetsk region, reducing the burden on the Luhansk region. Considering that the armed forces of Ukraine have certain success in both Kherson and Kharkiv regions, the Russians are shifting their troops to different directions, so we in the Luhansk region have less of a load. The head of the Luhansk Regional Military Administration, Serhiy Haidai, noted. A delegation of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Latvia visited the Chernihiv region, department's press service. Parliamentary Secretary Zanda Kalnina Lukasevica visited the Chernihiv region, where she met with the regional authorities and residents and discussed Latvia's participation in the restoration of the region, the most urgent needs for assistance. This is already the 3rd visit of representatives of the Latvian Ministry of Foreign Affairs to the Chernihiv region since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion. Morning shelling of Kharkiv. Prosecutor's office records another crime by the Russian army. According to the investigation, on September 8th, at about 10 a.m., the Russian army shelled residential neighborhoods in 2 city districts. A number of houses, a school, an administrative building, and industrial premises were damaged. British intelligence. The pontoon crossing destroyed by the armed forces of Ukraine near the Daryevsky Bridge in the Kherson region was one of the main routes between the northern and southern groups of Russian troops. And that bridge was destroyed. The armed forces of Ukraine have liberated more than 20 settlements in the Kharkiv region, head of the main operational department of the General Staff, Oleksiy Hromov. So people were sitting in the stairs of the Victoria Memorial in front of the Buckingham Palace in London following news of the Queen's deteriorating conditions. Meanwhile, Elizabeth II's immediate family, apart from Harry and Meghan, arrived at Balmoral at around 5 p.m. Prince Harry is leaving for Balmoral himself. His arrival is expected soon. The Duchess of Sussex will remain in London but will not attend the Well Child Awards ceremony as previously planned. However, Meghan may join Harry in Scotland later. The self-proclaimed officials of the occupied area of the Kharkiv region say they are going to take all children and women from the occupied Kupiansk and Izum districts. It is not known where exactly, but they are consistently deporting Ukrainian citizens to the territories of Russia for the reasons that are nothing but the purposes of genocide. Because they don't want children to grow up Ukrainian, they don't want women to give birth to Ukrainian children. The defenders of Ukraine liberated the village of Ozerne in the Donetsk region and improved the tactical situation in the Kramatorsk direction, deputy head of the main operational department of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksiy Hromov. He said that in the Kramatorsk direction, the Ukrainian armed forces advanced to a depth of 2 kilometers. During the offensive in the Slivensk direction, units of the 103rd Separate Brigade of the Territorial Defense Forces and units of the 15th Separate Regiment of the National Guard advanced to the depth of 3 kilometers and liberated Ozerne. The total area of the territories returned to Ukrainian control in the Kharkiv and southern Bukh directions is more than 700 square kilometers as of 2:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time 3 hours ago. Hi, Jen. Deputy head of the main operational department of the General Staff, Oleksiy Hromov, notes. The armed forces of Ukraine raised another Ukrainian flag in the previously occupied town in the Kharkiv region.
Піднімаємо український прапор над звільненим селом Волохів Яр.
Волохів Яр.
Слава Україні! Героям слава!
Героям слава!
Без Отця Російської Федерації.
Слава Україні!
This guy's voice is so cute. 383 children in Ukraine were unalive due to the Russian invasion, and these numbers are not final because there is no data from a huge number of occupied territories. The Ukrainian flag is already flying over the town of Balaklia. The flag appeared in the roof of the district state administration. At the same time, it is noted that even though Balaklia has returned under the control of the Ukrainian military, there is still an ongoing cleanup of Russian invaders who may still be hiding in the town. Hi, Natabot. Good to see you. I've missed you. The armed forces of Ukraine have taken control of Balaklia in the Kharkiv region. They reported this to the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. Here's what that looks like as they're standing on the Russian rag and they're waving the flag of Ukraine. Ukraine has hit more than 400 Russian targets with HIMARS missile systems supplied by the United States. General Mark Milley, chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, stated this at the Ramstein Air Base meeting in Germany. Russian oligarch German Khan moved to Moscow after 10 years of living in London due to sanctions, writes Bloomberg. It's proving a victory for Vladimir Putin, who for years tried to lure back rich citizens with foreign ties he saw as a potential source of disloyalty by offering tax incentives and capital amnesties. I am from Ukraine. Now an avalanche of UK, US, and European Union restrictions aimed at pushing Russia's business elite and undermining support for the war has made them more dependent on the president. Suddenly, the homeland they had left to ensure their assets, safety is one of the few places where their money isn't at risk of being frozen or taken away. Well, bye-bye. Enjoy your Russia. I hope that with all the sanctions, your billions or millions are still going to be able to buy you a toilet. But the problem is those are imported, and it might be difficult. Chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, said that Russia's strategic goals in Ukraine have failed. Their operational goal in this offensive were not their operational goals in this offensive were not successful. They did not capture the entire Donbass, but only crossed the Dnipro River in the south and the Kherson area, Milley said. He also objected that the Ukrainian army was exhausted. Losses of Russians in 10 days of the counteroffensive by the armed forces of Ukraine. Personnel, 4,150. Armored personnel vehicles, 288. Artillery systems, 166. Tanks, 165. Vehicles and fuel tanks, 156. UAV operational tactical level, 40. MLRS, 26. Anti-aircraft warfare systems, 10. Special equipment, 9. Helicopters, 7. Aircrafts, 5. Let me remind you that this is the losses over 10 days of the counter-offensive. Norway will hand over 160 Hellfire missiles and night vision devices to Ukraine, the Royal Norwegian Ministry of Defense reports. Now, let me check the Kyiv Independent for 1 second because they've had quite a few news coming out today. China buys Russian gas at 50% discount until the end of the year. Ukraine liberates 1,000 square kilometers over 20 settlements in Kharkiv Oblast. So now, as of 4:52 p.m., it has been updated to 1,000 square kilometers. 1,000 square kilometers in the region of Kharkiv has been liberated by Ukraine. Thank you, 1968 Camaro. Zelensky said that the armed forces have liberated over 1,000 square kilometers of Ukrainian land since September 1st. September 1st, that's basically a week. That is like a record number for any military. That is an incredible, profound counteroffensive. And the numbers of Ukrainian success in kilometers, in destroyed Russians, are staggering. Russian forces forcibly conscript men in Kharkiv Oblast. Men of conscription age are detained and sent to Vovchansk to the so-called recruitment center, the report reads. Zelensky publishes a video of the Ukrainian flag over Balaklia. Here's what that looks like. Take a look. Дуже дякую. Дуже дякую. Привіт. Приємно вас бачити.
Сьогодні 8 16:00.
September 8th, 4 p.m.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава. Love that. Come Back Alive, head of the Come Back Alive organization, says if you want to help Ukraine's military, buy equipment. Today, everyone in Ukraine knows about the Come Back Alive charity, or rather, charitable organization. The organization became one of the symbols of Ukraine's popular war effort, purchasing everything from warm socks to strike drones worth millions of dollars. Read the full interview on the Kyiv Independent's page. Bum, bum, bum. Stoltenberg called for increased support of Ukraine today. Hi, Sasha. Slava Ukraini. Armed forces hit pontoon bridges, Russian command center in Kherson Oblast. Ukrainians in occupied territories helped armed forces track Russian troops' movement. 4 residents sent to clean up industrial enterprise in occupied Mariupol blown up at the site. Podolyak dismisses Berlusconi and Merkel as mediators between Ukraine and Russia. Podolyak dismissed Berlusconi and Merkel as mediators between Ukraine and Russia. Former Prime Minister of Italy, Silvio Berlusconi, said he could try to mediate the conflict between Ukraine and Russia with the help of former German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Mikhailo Podolyak, an advisor to the head of the presidential office, said neither Berlusconi nor Merkel have trust, authority, or relevance to mediate. Oof. I love that, though. Oh, this is pretty. I love that, though. I love love that. See, Podolyak, I live for his commentary. I've said this so many times. I live for his commentary. He does not have a filter, but in the best possible way. You do not have trust, authority, or relevance to mediate the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. That is a slam dunk. That is amazing. I love that. I love that he doesn't like run around the bush. I love that he doesn't say like, oh, we're going to think about it. Oh, maybe not you, maybe someone else. We have other options. No, he's quite literally like, I'm sorry. No. Kuleba and Podolyak are the two people whose tweets and whose commentary I live for. They're amazing. They're my personal heroes. Pentagon says Ukraine's counteroffensive shows demonstrable success. You don't say. Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you so much. Okay. Poland and Baltic states are going to limit entry of Russians with Schengen visas starting September 19th. Yes, as I said, he knows how to tell people to F off, but in the most polite, diplomatic way possible. Okay. U.S. quietly provides Ukraine with most accurate artillery shells. The U.S. Defense Department sent Ukraine its most accurate artillery shells, the GPS-guided Excalibur, and they did that quietly. Berlusconi and Merkel were slapped down by Podolyak as per usual because he is incredible and that man does not F around. And that is all of the news I have for you today, both on the front of the UK and on the front, as in the front of the UK, I mean front pages of the UK news and the front lines of Ukraine. So that is all I had for you today. It's been 2 hours and 12 minutes. So I am going to say 10-minute winding down time. 10-minute winding down time and kind of chatting. And then I'm going to run. I'm going to go take a long walk with Cindy. And Mel, you can look at my video about Boris Johnson and it'll give you like the idea that I have about Liz Truss as well. It's on my page. Please check it out. It's titled Boris Has Gone What Now? So basically, but watch the whole video because the first 3 seconds of it are not going to give you the picture. But basically, yeah, you caught the end today. But basically, I will see you later tonight, and we will talk a little more about the monarchy. We will talk a little more about history of the monarchy. We will talk a little more about Queen Elizabeth, and Elizabeth. I'm going to try to do a couple of videos on the British royal family, sort of from a historical perspective, without butting into their monarchy or into their government. And what time tonight? I want to say about 9 to 9:30 Eastern. Probably 9:30 Eastern is a better bet. I want to give myself some time, and I want to have a little bit of time to kind of unwind, eat, do things like that. So I will see you later to talk about history, and I will see you later to chat in general. Thank you so much for tuning in for the news. If you're new to Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, or TikTok, please consider subscribing, as I work very hard to deliver the news to you every day, and I try my best to make this channel as multiversed as possible, where you see the news from the front lines of Ukraine, and I try to talk about relevant things going on around the world when they happen, if I know enough about them, because one of the things that I really don't like is that people who are not well versed in politics or history of something give their unsolicited commentary about history or politics of something that they're not very well versed in. So I would say that really bugs me. And I try not to be one of those people because it is incredibly annoying. So I'm going to say I will see you guys later. Thank you for being here. Slava Ukraini, Героям слава, звичайно. And see you later tonight for a little bit of a discussion on royal family with respect to everybody who lives in the Commonwealth and who knows much more than I do. But I just like history, so no personal feelings, just history. And thank you for staying for the news for today. And if you're not subscribed to my TikTok, to my Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter, please consider doing so. On Twitter, I repost a lot of the news pertaining to the invasion of Ukraine, a lot of more graphic stuff, a lot more interesting videos, and a lot more relevant videos, some commentary from myself. Also, that is where you can grab the Yee posters that you can repost, and you can also grab them on Instagram. And Heroyam Slava, and I will see you guys in about 4 hours. Bye. Okay, and broadcast.